Hey everyone, it's Anna. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. I am coming on tonight real quick just to answer some questions I received recently about paper. So let me go ahead and answer those questions and hopefully get through the information in a way that's easy and allows you to go ahead and find what you're looking for. So first of all, let me just mention, if you're going to be using any watercolor technique that uses washes, or if you're going to be using, if you're going to be spritzing the paper, anything like that, applying more than usual water, please use watercolor paper. So if you're going to be using a technique like this, which is the faux watercolor technique, please use watercolor paper. If you're going to be doing anything that requires you to use heavy washes, even some light washes, use a watercolor paper, a paper that's made to take water. And that's what I'll say about that. Normally what I use when I'm Copic coloring or alcohol marker coloring is a classic Crest cover paper from Neenah. It has a very smooth surface. Here's an example for you. This is an image from High Hopes Rubber Stamps. It has a very smooth surface. When you run your finger over it, there's little to no texture on it. It takes the alcohol markers beautifully, and you can still tea dye. You can still die cut it beautifully. It's just a beautiful paper. So 110 pound classic Crest cover cardstock. You can also get it in an 80 pound weight. I prefer the 110 pound weight, but you can also use 80 pound. Here's another example of the classic Crest cover cardstock in 110 pounds. So it's very smooth. It takes the marker ink very, very beautifully. This is a retired image from Impression Obsession. So cute, isn't it? I don't know if I said this is an image from High Hopes. So again, normally when I color, I use the classic Crest cover in 110 pound, and it has a smooth finish. In fact, here, let me try and show you the label. It's going to be difficult because this is taller than my camera. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you. Okay, so there you go. Classic Crest. The color I'm using in this box is called Classic Natural White. Most of the time you'll hear people use Solar White. That works beautifully as well. I actually am using a Classic Natural White. One, because I'm out of my Solar White and had this on hand. But I also like this as well. It's not a super bright white, but I also don't do a lot of super bright white projects. So it makes sense for me to use a more natural white. So you can see this is 8.5 by 11 size paper, 110 pound weight, and the surface of it is smooth. Okay, so that's that. Now, because I was out of my Solar White, I decided to pull out a linen cardstock. And you've been seeing me use it lately. All the cards I think that I've made recently on my Whippersnapper videos use this white, the linen white cardstock. So there is an example. Hopefully you can see the linen texture there in the background, the way the light hits it. And it's just a really light linen texture, so the stamped image still comes out beautiful on the cardstock. And you can see it takes the alcohol markers just fine. Probably not as nice as the classic Crest smooth cardstocks, but I think it's satisfactory. So at least it is for the way that I color. So again, these are all colored with alcohol markers, and you can maybe see the linen texture there in the background. So these are all images again from Whippersnapper Designs. So again, there's that linen texture in the background, and it's not a super bright white, but I think it's satisfactory for the cards and papers and things that I use. And this one as well, that linen texture there in the background. You can see the image stamped beautifully. No problems with the markers, no problems with the glitter, nothing. Perfect. Okay, so that is, let me see if I can find it. Oh, here's my label. That is a classic linen cover. The color I'm using is Avon Brilliant White. It is 8.5 by 11. There's 250 sheets per ream. You can see this one is an 80 pound base weight paper, and the finish is linen. Okay. And I think it works beautifully. The other Neenah paper that I use very frequently, and you'll hear me mention a cotton Neenah paper sometimes in my videos. I'll show you some examples. So this image was painted on a cotton paper from Neenah. You can see how the colors play really beautifully here. Has a very watercolored effect. You can even see it on the bird there, how the inks there fade into each other. And this paper, while it's not necessarily textured, you can see maybe that it does have a slight mottled look to it, more so than the classic cover crest. Okay, so there's an example. Here's another example where I have watercolored. And when I say watercolored, I'm not using heavy watercolor paints like you would if you were using watercolor paper. I'm actually using either like Stampin' Up! Reinkers, slightly watered down, or I'm using these Clean Color Zig markers. Okay, so these are a dye-based dye-based, water-based marker that have a lot of pigment and a little bit of product, so I'm not having to add a lot of water to get the watercolor effect. Okay, but you can see how, you know, her dress is nicely watercolored. Her apron there is nicely watercolored. The space around her has a nice blue fade. Here's another image that I did the same technique using Stampin' Up! Reinkers. So again, I just picked up a little bit of Stampin' Up! Reinker mixed with water on a paintbrush and applied it to the image, just like I would if it was a regular watercolor pigment. And these cards were made several years ago, but I know that this was absolutely a Stampin' Up! Reinkers because if you can see in the brown there, it kind of pulls pink, and that's a classic Stampin' Up! Reinker property. And then this one also was done the same way on the same paper. And so you can see that it gives a nice watercolor effect. So this image is from High Hopes. This one is a Stampin' Up! A retired good night, I'm tired. A retired whippersnapper image. This is a Deb Strain from Stampington & Company. This is a retired Stampin' Up! Image, and this is a retired Stampin' Up! Image, just so we're clear. So these were all done using a classic cotton cover Bristol 25% cotton paper from Neenah. The color that I'm using is Avon Brilliant White. The sub-base weight of the paper is 88 pounds, and you get 250 sheets per ream, and it has a wove finish. So that's really important. The wove finish and 25% cotton fiber is what gives you the ability to get a watercolor technique like this, using the reinkers or the what are they called? These Zig Clean Color markers. Okay, so that's for that. The linen paper is for alcohol markers, and the classic Neenah Crest cover cardstocks are also for alcohol markers. So I hope that's been helpful, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, bye.